and great. Guys, really nice to have all three of you here. Coach, I'm going to start with you because you bring a new team into the Big Ten, but for you, I mean, it's pretty amazing. You're 5 years removed from being an assistant coach at Cal State Fullerton, and now here you are as the head coach of Washington in the Big Ten. To what do you attribute your meteoric rise?
I think a lot of the guys that I learned from, Coach Braswell and Dedrick Taylor, at Cal State Northridge and Cal State Fullerton, just kind of the values they instilled in me, the work ethic, the discipline, the daily habits. And then it's just trusting the work that you put in, and I think, it's kind of what's for you is for you, and you just kind of have to go and get it. And I think the work that I put in as an assistant, even though, it took me a little longer to become a head coach, but when I got that job, I knew I was prepared for that opportunity, and in the 5 years made the most of it.
How's it different, you think, in a high major?
I mean, we're going to find out. I consider Utah State a high major too, and I treated our program at Montana State like a high major from how we operate on a daily, discipline on a daily basis, going to class, making sure you're on time, you're early. Those things, those go into winning, and I don't think that changes at any level.
Well, great. I think there's maybe no one on planet Earth who's more qualified to give us insight into Coach Sprinkle's coaching than you. You were with him at Montana State. You're with him at Utah State. So what can we expect out of a Danny Sprinkle coach team?
I mean, you can expect us to play hard. You can expect us to defend. And we're just going to compete, Those are the values he instills in our team. He expects us to compete every day we're out there in practice and whatever we do. And he wants us to play hard. And I feel like we'll try and show that during the year.
Well, part of it, obviously, was having to go out and recruit almost an entirely new team. There are a few holdovers, but 8 different players in the portal. Mekhi, you were the first one to commit. So what sold you on Coach Sprinkle and on coming to Washington?
Yeah, honestly, they just made it feel like home to me. Just the plan that they laid out for me and how they saw me, how I can help the team, and honestly just their values, like Great said, what they instill in their players the past few years, having very good seasons. So honestly, just how he made me feel. He made me feel like it was the right place to be.
You essentially did the exact same thing last year at Utah State. You came in and you basically had no players, and you had to go into the portal. How did what you did there help you with what you had to do in Seattle?
I wouldn't say it gave us a blueprint, but the one thing we weren't going to we're not going to negotiate on character. We want to make sure we're getting the right type of kids in our program, that we can coach hard, that we can love hard, but we're going to discipline them. We're going to make sure they're doing the right thing. We got to make sure that, academically they want to get a degree. They're not coming just to play basketball. They want to impact the community in Seattle. That stuff's important to me because I know that's going to go well beyond their time at University of Washington.
Well, tell me about each one of these guys. I mean, you've obviously been with Great for quite some time, so maybe you start with him. But what about each one of these players made them a good fit for you?
Yeah, obviously I've known Great since he was probably 15, 16 years old. I remember we recruited him, and a lot of it was during COVID, and he was back home in England. I can still visualize FaceTiming him, and he's just in his apartment or he's at his house with his parents, and we're all cooped up. And then to see where we're at today. And to be at Montana State and to go to 2 tournaments, to go to Utah State. And he had the faith and the trust in me that not only are we going to make him better as a basketball player, but, my job is to make him the best person he can be. That's the promise I gave his parents. And they're the best because they're like, Coach, when he's out of line, discipline him. And I have their full recommendation to do whatever I need to do to get him online. But he's been a pleasure to coach. He's a great human being, and the sky's the limit for him. And Mekhi, I've known Mekhi since he was young too. His father, who's actually from Chicago. I've known Dedrick Taylor, who I worked with at Fullerton's, really good friends with him, and so that was kind of a connection I had, and I'd always followed his success at Rice, and I knew the type of person he was. Obviously, he's a talented player, good enough to play in the Big Ten, but I know his stock. I know what he comes from, and just really excited to be around him. He's been tremendous. He's always got a smile on his face, like right now, but he's a pleasure to be around every day.
Great. You mentioned that you were, or Coach mentioned you were back home in England and you guys were FaceTiming. For people who don't know your story, let's start with the name. The name seems like it's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
But what's the origins of your parents deciding on Great as your name?
So I come from a really religious household. When my parents first found out they were going to have me, they were like, God is great. God is great. And that's what my dad kept saying. And he said, Great stuck. And he was like, yeah, great it is. And we just went along with that. And that's been it ever since.
Is there any pressure? I mean, what if you're mediocre and you're named great?
I don't feel the pressure of my name being great. It's just who I am at this point, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not worried about that. I just try and be myself every day.
Well, it's quite a story. So you grew up in Spain and England.
Yeah.
So tell me about taking the leap of faith and going from England to Missoula, Montana.
Bozeman,
Montana.
Hey, that's
my
the rival.
bad.
We can't go
Bozeman,
there.
Montana, to be with this guy.
Yeah.
Nah, we don't rock with Missoula right now.
Missoula's University of Montana. Shame on me. May I be struck down.
Yeah.
All right.
It was obviously I didn't get many schools contacting me during COVID, and that's fine. But Coach Sprinkle and Coach Haslam at Montana State, they believed in me.
Yeah.
And when they said, come to Montana State, we trust you, we know you can help us win. It was a no-brainer at that point. And then when I landed in Bozeman is beautiful in the summer too. So I was like, wait, this is not bad. It's
right.
But I came with a coat, so I was prepared for it to be snowing. And then it was warm. I was like, okay, this is not going to work. And then it was nice. Bozeman's beautiful.
Okay.
We didn't tell him it snowed when we recruited him.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, yeah, you've had the campus visit in June, right?
Yeah.
You got this whole thing figured out. This is easy. What about you coming from Rice? You obviously you're kind of that first guy. You're taking that first leap of faith. Now that this group has come together, give us a little insight into what Washington basketball is going to look like this year.
Oh yeah, this year we're for sure always going to play hard to the best of our abilities. But I feel like all these guys, we all have different, talents. So I feel like just piecing them all together, we're all just going to do our best and what we can to win ball games. But we're for sure going to give it our all and hopefully get some wins this season.
For you, pretty amazing story to end up in the Big Ten because you were not a particularly highly recruited player, right? You were on a great prep team where you were behind some guys who were really heavily recruited, and same in AAU ball. Yeah. What does it mean to you now to have this opportunity? And Rice is a good, solid program, but to have the opportunity to come play in the Big Ten.
No, right. I feel like it's just a testament of the work I put in. Honestly, just coming from Rice, it really taught me a lot. It helped me gain the experience and just what I needed to even just play at this level. Even growing up, I knew I could play at this level, but just getting the opportunity from Coach Spring just to play at this level, it means the world to me.
Give people a little bit of a sense for style of play with this group. At Montana State, it seems like you were a little more deliberate, maybe a little more up-tempo. At Utah State last year. What's your philosophy? When we talked this summer, you were saying we want to be physical, we want to be tough.
Yep.
What's that going to look like on the court?
Yeah, I think from a defensive standpoint, you always have to be physical. You have to be tough. You have to rebound the basketball and be disciplined. You have to make teams score over you. Yeah. I don't care what league you play in, you have to be able to do that. If you give up easy baskets, it's a recipe for disaster. But, like at Utah State, we played really fast. We had multiple.
Logan, Utah, by the way.
In Logan, Utah. There you go.
I'm trying to redeem myself, yeah.
And so we played fast because we had multiple guys that had great speed and could handle the ball, and it allowed us to play fast. And it really expanded Great's game, too, because he was one of those guys that could get the rebound. And when he was bringing the ball like a point guard, that was our best offense, along with Darius. But this team's different. We're still figuring this team out from an offensive standpoint. I think we have some really good pieces, and now it's getting them to play together. It's to create shots for each other. When you bring in so many new transfers, sometimes they're all really talented in their own right, but now the shot can't be about you. It's got to be about UW. And that's one of our sayings. We always say, it's not about you, it's about UW. And once we get this team playing together and sharing the basketball and moving it more, we can be really good offensively.
Well, your track record would seem to reflect that it'll be sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. Great to have you in the league and really good to visit with you, and all my apologies to everyone in Bozeman.
They're going to be on you.
I guess, yeah. I won't show my face there. Guys, this was a lot of fun. Really good to visit with both of you. Welcome to the Big Ten.
Appreciate it.